Hello and welcome to WION Live broadcast from Washington DC. I'm Nick Harper and here are today's headlines. Moscow says that President Putin is open to talks on Ukraine, with the refusal of the US to recognise annexed territories as Russia is hindering a search for any potential compromise. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz presses Russia's President Vladimir Putin to seek a diplomatic solution to end his war in Ukraine, including troop withdrawals, Berlin says, following a call between the two leaders. Two militants killed in Kabul after they detonated a car bomb and tried to storm the headquarters of an Afghan party headed by former PM Gulbuddin Hekmatyar. Shots also fired at Pakistan's embassy. The chairman of South Africa's governing African National Congress denies that President Cyril Ramaphosa is considering resigning. US-led coalition forces resume regular patrols in Kurdish-held areas in Syria's northeastern Hasakeh province near the Turkish border, as Ankara threatens a ground incursion. Well, we start our bulletin with a news alert coming in from Afghanistan, where three unidentified militants detonated a car bomb and tried to storm the headquarters of Afghan party headed by a veteran politician, Gulbuddin Hekmatyar, in Kabul. Hekmatyar is the former Prime Minister of Afghanistan and is regarded as a political survivor in the country. Two militants were killed in the attack. Shots were also fired at Pakistan's embassy in the Afghan capital. Pakistan's envoy, Ubin Nizami, is safe while his aide was hit by 3 bullets. Pakistan's Prime Minister has condemned the assassination attempt on the envoy. Orders are being given to evacuate Pakistan's embassy staff from Kabul. Well, for more on this, WION's Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik is joining us live from Islamabad. Anas, what more do we know about this attack in Kabul?
Well, there have been 2 incidents in Kabul. First being just around the Friday prayers when gunmen tried to storm into the party headquarters of Hizb-e-Islami, tried to get to the office of Gulbuddin Hekmatyar, who is also the former Prime Minister of Afghanistan, but they were intercepted. It was a car bomb, suicide bomber, and gunmen both in a car who were intercepted and were actually taken out or killed in the premises of the office, but not near to where Gulbuddin Hekmatyar was. So Gulbuddin Hekmatyar is safe. The second incident took roughly about an hour or 2 from the time the first incident took place. And in the second incident, what we know so far is that the Pakistani embassy compound was fired upon from a vantage point, as what we have very credibly learned. At least 3 to 4 bullets were fired. The Pakistani chief head of mission or charge d'affaires, Ubaid Nizamani, was out on a stroll in the premise of the compound itself. At least 3 bullets were fired at him. All 3 grazed him, but they were taken by the SSG guard or the Sepoy Muhammad Israr next to him, who has taken 3 bullets to his chest. He is said to be critically injured. The Pakistani government has strongly condemned it. We're yet to hear something on the incident from the Taliban. The Pakistani side has again reiterated to the Afghan government, interim Afghan government, that they need to protect diplomatic missions. The Pakistani Prime Minister has condemned it. He's vowed bowed and saluted the bravery of the security guard, and he's also had a telephone conversation with the head of mission, Ubaid Nizamani. Additionally, what government sources are also telling us is that a special flight will be sent sometime either later today or as early as tomorrow morning. The plane is on standby here in Islamabad, and it will go as soon as the green signal comes in. It depends on the situation, on the health condition of the sepoy Mohammad Israr, who's injured, critically injured, and that special flight will be evacuating the embassy staff, embassy personnel, diplomatic personnel, the head of mission, and the injured personnel as well. This is a time being, if this is a time barred thing. It's not a permanent measure that is being done to evacuate the embassy. It's a temporary setup that is being done, but that is what the latest that we have, that the guard is critically injured, the head of mission is safe. Nick?
Anas, thank you. That was WION's Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik joining us live from Islamabad. Well, next today, the war in Ukraine is taking a heavy toll, not just on Ukraine, but all over the world. The disruption of the supply chain, blockades of Ukrainian grain exports have worsened hunger in some of the world's most vulnerable regions. Millions of civilians are unable to return home to Ukraine. Everyone wants to see productive discussions between Ukraine and Russia and a possible relaxation of this aggressive war. Well, the latest developments may provide a sense of hope to millions of people. In the latest, the Kremlin says that President Vladimir Putin is open to talks on a possible settlement to the conflict in Ukraine and believes in a diplomatic solution. The Kremlin comments come after US President Joe Biden suggested he was prepared to speak to the Russian leader. According to Biden, the only way to end the war in Ukraine is for Putin to pull troops out, and that if Putin is looking to end the conflict, then Biden would be prepared to speak to him. Biden also said the Russian president had miscalculated by invading Ukraine, but if that he's serious about getting out of the country, then he would be willing to sit down with Putin after consultation with NATO allies.
Look, there's one way for this war to end, the rational way. Putin to pull out of Ukraine, number one. But it appears he's not going to do that. He's paying a very heavy price for failing to do it, but he's inflicting incredible carnage on the civilian population of Ukraine, bombing nurseries, hospitals, children's homes. It's sick what he's doing. But the fact of the matter is, I have no immediate plans to contact Mr. Putin. Mr. Putin is, let me choose my words very carefully. I'm prepared to speak with Mr. Putin if, in fact, there is an interest in him deciding he's looking for a way to end the war.
Meanwhile, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz also called on Russia's president to seek a diplomatic solution to the end of the war. He also urged the withdrawal of troops. Berlin says the two leaders spoke over the phone. The developments come as heavy fighting is underway in the east of Ukraine. Earlier, Putin had said he has no regrets about launching what he calls Russia's special military operation against Ukraine. Ukraine and the West say Putin has no justification for the war of occupation. Ukraine says it will fight until the last Russian soldier is ejected from its territory. Well, for more on this, we can speak to our correspondent Susan Tarani, who's joining us live from New York City. Susan, the strongest signals yet that there could be possibility of talks happening in the future. What do you make of President Biden's comments?
Yeah, Nick, it was very interesting, and it came shortly and side by side, really, with the French President Emmanuel Macron, and shortly after that really long closed-door meeting between the two Western leaders. And one can't help but wonder whether or not Macron really expressed concern about the problems that Europe is facing right now with the long winter haul and energy supplies due to this Russian invasion on the one hand. And then on the other hand, we did hear immediately afterwards the Russian president come out and say that he's willing to negotiate, not on the terms of the West, but if, for example, if Joe Biden and the West agree to recognize territories, quote unquote, seized by Russia. A lot of experts and analysts said that ultimately, if there is going to be some kind of a ceasefire or a breakthrough, then those parts of the Donbass region will have to be up for negotiation and discussion. The likelihood that Putin and his forces will pull back is very unlikely. So we'll have to wait and see, but it does seem like there is a glimmer of hope just because right now Europe is in an extremely tough situation regarding energy. On the one hand, as you rightly noted in your introduction, in the narration as well, that the energy crunch is real, food supply chain issues. And here in the United States, it becomes a domestic issue. The Democrats are really feeling the heat as well. And then the money that's going into Ukraine, from Capitol Hill, that's coming up for discussion as well with the Republicans taking over at least the House. So I think it was calculated, it was measured, the comments that Joe Biden was making.
Thank you, Susan. If you don't mind staying where you are, we're going to come back to you in a few minutes' time to speak about the next story. Well, in a fresh blow to former US President Donald Trump, an appeals court has halted a third-party review of documents seized from his Mar-a-Lago estate. The federal appeals court in Atlanta, Georgia, overruled a previous order by a Florida judge. The earlier ruling allowed for the appointment of a so-called special master to review the documents seized at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach back in August. This prevented the Justice Department from using them in its investigation of Trump's behaviour in the documents case. 3 Atlanta appeals court justices said there was nothing illegal about the August 8th search and the document seizure, adding that the Florida judge had no jurisdiction to place limits on the Justice Department's examination of the documents. They also rejected Trump's claim that the search and seizure violated his rights, and that as a former president he deserved special treatment to protect his reputation. The seized papers include thousands of White House records that were property of the United States National Archives. It also includes over 100 classified documents, some of them marked with the highest secrecy designations. The appointment of the special master and related orders by the Florida judge delayed and threatened to disable the Justice Department's criminal investigation into the former president. Trump is being probed for unauthorized possession of national defense information, which falls under the Espionage Act, and for obstruction of justice. The ruling effectively removes restrictions that could have hampered the investigation of Trump by special counsel Jack Smith. Smith was appointed on November the 18th to take charge of the 2 major federal investigations into Donald Trump. One of those is looking at Trump's role in the January 6, 2021 assault by his supporters on the US Capitol building. And the second is of his alleged mishandling of Mar-a-Lago documents. Well, for more on this, we can go back to our correspondent Susan Tarani, who's still live for us in New York. Well, lots to digest there, Susan. Essentially, what comes next?
Yeah, it's very interesting that this back and forth, ultimately this really speeds up the Justice Department's investigation into these documents that Donald Trump took to Mar-a-Lago. Of course, we still don't know whether or not there was anything illegal in his actions, but I think it was really interesting that a lot of these judges are Trump appointees, and they said that the only justification for Eileen Cannon's actions in agreeing to appoint a special master was that it was a former president that was involved. But they immediately afterwards said that it is indeed extraordinary for a warrant to be executed at the home of a former president, but not in a way that affects our legal analysis or otherwise gives the judiciary license to interfere in an ongoing investigation. So one after the other, I think the aim right now is to really speed up this investigation. And so I think that's what we're going to see right now, is for this investigation to continue to the dismay of the former president.
Susan, thank you. That was Susan Tarani joining us live from New York City. Well, next today, the US Congress has given final approval to a bill aimed at averting a planned nationwide railroad strike on the 9th of November. Or rather, the 9th of December. The strike, if executed, will have had the potential to devastate the American economy, costing $2 billion a day in losses. Congress, however, has rejected a measure that would have provided paid sick days to the railroad workers. The US Senate voted 80 to 15 to impose a tentative contract deal. The deal was reached in September with a dozen unions representing 115,000 workers, who could have gone on strike on December the 9th. The bill now goes to the US President Joe Biden, who will sign it into law. A rail strike could have frozen almost 30% of the US cargo shipments by weight. The US House of Representatives approved the bill to block the strike on Wednesday and separately voted to require 7 days of paid sick leave for the rail workers. There are no paid short-term sick days under the tentative deal, after the unions asked for 15 days and railroads settled on 1 personal day. The sick leave measure did not win the required 60-vote supermajority in the Senate and was not endorsed by the White House. A total of 52 senators, including 44 Democrats, 2 independents and 6 Republicans, voted to mandate sick leave for rail workers, while 42 Republicans and Democratic Senator Joe Manchin voted against it. Congress invoked its sweeping powers to block strikes involving transportation. It's an authority it doesn't possess in other labour disputes. The rail stoppage could have had a significant impact on the US economy, especially at the height of the holiday shopping season. The Senate earlier rejected a proposal by Senator Dan Sullivan to extend the cooling-off period by 60 days to allow for further negotiations. President Biden has praised the proposed contract, which includes a 24% compounded pay increase over the next 5 years and 5 annual $1,000 lump sum payments. He had asked Congress to impose the contract without any modifications.
The American people know what I think we're going to get it done, but not within this agreement. Not within this agreement. We're going to avoid the rail strike, keep the rails running, keep things moving, and I'm going to go back and we're going to get paid leave, not just for rail workers, but for all workers.
Senator Bernie Sanders, among others, also denounced railroad companies for refusing to offer paid sick leave.
In the last year, that industry earned $21 billion in profit, record-breaking, provided $25 billion in stock buybacks and dividends to their wealthy shareholders. And yet today in that industry, workers who do difficult and dangerous work have 0 paid sick days. 0. You get sick, you got a mark against you, a couple of marks, you get fired. This cannot and must not happen in America in 2022.
Meanwhile, some railway workers and union members have called the bill a disaster that may lead to fewer workers in the industry.
This looks to me pretty much like a concessionary contract when you take into account the automatic bid system that's in there and the self-regulating pools. I can almost guarantee you that this time next year, you'll have fewer rail workers than you do right now. And that's going to be pretty much a disaster.
Look, the American people know what work at this facility are doing.
Well, just when you thought that Ye, the rapper formerly known as Kanye West, couldn't get into more trouble, he has. Just hours after the rapper shared his anti-Semitic views with Alex Jones, Ye tweeted a now-deleted post featuring what appeared to be a swastika, triggering a suspension from Twitter once again. Starting the day with chaos, the rapper appeared on conspiracy theorist Alex Jones's InfoWars show and repeatedly said that he liked Adolf Hitler. After the show, he posted a series of controversial tweets. Among them, Ye posted what seemed to be a swastika merged with a Star of David, which Twitter then deleted instantly. Elon Musk confirmed that the rapper's account will be suspended right after that controversial post. The Twitter owner tweeted, and I quote, "I tried my best. Despite that, he again violated our rule against incitement to violence. Account will be suspended." The American rapper's Twitter account was reinstated after tech billionaire Elon Musk took over as the owner. After weeks of being restricted on the platform, he finally returned on the 21st of November. It's not the first time that the famous rapper has faced backlash for his controversial comments. Adidas and Balenciaga have also cut ties with him for his anti-Semitic comments. Well, that's a wrap for WION Live broadcast from Washington, D.C. I'm Nick Harper, signing off. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.
This is right, Arab.